Alrighty. Hello, my audience. Welcome to the very first new video that I'm going to be posting in 2021. Technically, I have a video in the works. It's all about when ISTJs use their intuition, but I decided to hold off on uploading it for various reasons. The first was that I was having technical difficulties with my webcam when I first started making it. And then after what seemed like 20 different takes, I finally decided to film it on another day, and then my webcam worked perfectly. So I'm starting to think that what was actually going on was it was probably because I was filming on Christmas, and because so many people were using the Wi-Fi networks, it just slowed down everything. Like the eShop was as slow as molasses, and even though I got a gift card for Christmas, it was well, it was really hard to actually download the stuff that I purchased. I was actually on the verge of calling Nintendo customer support just to see if my Switch was broken or anything like that. So it looks like a bit of a delay on this camera. Well, we'll just go with it. If you guys have problems, you can always let me know in the chat. That's totally fine. So, what have I been up to lately? I suppose that's a moot point considering there's only one person watching, but I'll say it anyway just in case people come late and they would like to see, oh, what have you been up to lately, Paul? Well, I got a new game in Gamefly, and it's called AI The Somnium Files. Definitely the kind of game that I can't really see the average Catholic liking that much. For one, there's like so many references to pornography that it's kind of sickening. And the main character is consistently making pervert jokes, and some of the character motivations just make no sense. Like, it seems like the main character is really easily bribed. But that being said, I still find myself fascinated by the story and the fact that it's done by the same guy who did Zero Escape. So I'm really excited to see how they wrap up the main story arc and like if it'll end up mind blowing me the same way that Virtue's Last Reward did when I got to the end of that game. I've also been playing Path of Radiance again. For those of you that don't know, that's actually a GameCube game that'll cost you a fortune if you try to buy it nowadays. But I got it back when it was new, and that was actually the first RPG I ever played. Possibly second if you count Paper Mario, but it was the first heavily story driven RPG. So I did not know that a game could be capable of telling powerful stories. And I think the permadeath really helped a lot because when a character died, knowing that they're not just going to pop up and start over like most video games did, it was an eye changing moment for me. And I also haven't reviewed Path of Radiance yet on this channel. And now that I have a capture device that allows me to take footage of GameCube games, that's definitely in the works. Although I also have to make sure I'm not disturbing anyone who also wants that space. So I've been slaving away at Path of Radiance, just trying to do one level today. Took me about an hour because there's very specific conditions to make the battle easier, and I wanted to do that because I kind of like to have a systematic way of playing a Fire Emblem game. Like, I don't usually like to attack unarmed people, for instance. So that was a big priority of mine. Then Christmas was fun. I got to listen to my brother sing some beautiful songs for his daughter. And yes, that's right. If those of you that are in the chat can hear me correctly, you'll know that I'm now an uncle. And I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, on the one hand, it's super cool that because I'm an uncle. Oh, did I forget to bring a glass of water? Um, all right, guys, take two while I make sure to get a drink. I'll pop a BRB in the chat, and I will catch you guys in a bit as soon as I get a drink. Oh. Silly me. Guess you can ignore that BRB because the water was just behind my computer. All right, let's never mind the BRB then. We'll remove that one. There we go. All right. So I am back in action. Oh, thank you for the like, whoever did that. That's really appreciated. So as I was saying, Christmas was fun. My brother sang a couple of songs about his daughter. I'm an uncle, and it also was really helpful for me to get over my own grief because I'm sure a lot of you know that my mom had 6 miscarriages. So a lot of times it's really easy for me to play two truths and a lie because I tell people that I have 9 siblings as opposed to only 3, and they usually think that I'm lying, but I'm counting the ones up there. And so it was really nice to think like, yeah, I technically do have a large stereotypical Catholic family, just not all here on this earth. Then I also got another Amiibo. You can actually see it behind me. I'm trying to move my finger in the right direction. Right there. There's my pink yarn Yoshi Amiibo. Didn't think I'd like another yarn Yoshi, but hey, more to add to my collection. That's pretty cool. I also have, let me see if you guys can see them all right. You've got Joker, Dark Samus, Hero, the Squid Sisters, Richter, Simon, Piranha Plant. Now I have more amiibos than that. I have some right in front of me in my closet, but those are the ones that I've kept in the box, and so it's a lot cooler to display box amiibos than it is ones on the shelf. I also just got a bunch of new games as a result of my best friend and other friends buying stuff off of me and giving me Christmas money. So just to name a couple, I've got Dragon Quest XI, which I'm not a huge Dragon Quest fan. I don't even see myself wanting to play the rest of the games in the series, but that game's music is so spectacular that I wanted to play it again just for the concert aspect of it, because it's fully orchestrated. Then I finally have Among Us. I haven't played it yet. It doesn't seem like it's going to be my kind of game, but technically I got it for free because it's a gift card. And if I haven't posted that video yet, so I guess you could say this is a little bit of future proofing, but a video that I'm about to make is going to tell you that I generally don't like trying new things unless I have a demo or some kind of failsafe to make sure that I'm not wasting my money or wasting my time on something that could be a disaster. So who knows? I could end up being good at it. I generally don't like playing games like Mafia because I'm a very honest person. I don't really like lying in any capacity. Like, I don't even like lying in video games. So if I'm the imposter, I'll probably just say, "I'm the imposter, shoot me." So if you're playing against me in Among Us, don't expect me to be anything except a crew member. Then I also got Bug Fables: The Everlasting Sapling, which I guess you would only know about it if you're really in the loop about Nintendo stories. I know Arlo's talked about it a lot. It's basically a Paper Mario spiritual successor. It literally plays almost identical to Paper Mario. It even has like the same block-shaped doorways to another. Oh, I thought that was my phone ringing. Block-shaped areas, and the combat system is almost identical to 2 likes. Dang, you guys are too generous today. I don't even know what I'm doing that's that cool. And no one has even talked yet. That's very interesting. Yeah, so Bug Fables, I haven't played much of it. I just wanted to show it to my best friend. It's been pretty cool. As far as this channel going forward in 2021, the thing is sometimes I have more ideas than I have time to film the ideas, but I've definitely Hey Ryan, yes, happy New Year to you too. Have we talked before? Cuz I'm just curious. I don't remember seeing your name on my channel, but welcome. What kind of videos do you like to see? So I Oh, you haven't. Are you a newcomer to my channel then? I'm definitely planning on doing more personal testimonies. I'm going to keep up what I've previously done. I've got a lot of games to cover, and I haven't even heard of too many major 2021 releases. But I plan on reviewing the 3D World port. I don't know how much I'm going to like it because I didn't like the original, but the Bowser's Fury part seems pretty cool. And I'm also planning on reviewing Neo: The World Ends With You because, I love the original. I played the final remix on Switch, and that left off with a huge cliffhanger that basically said Neo: The World Ends With You was in development. So, of course, I'm going to get that. I just pre-ordered the Banjo and Kazooie Amiibo, so I may do a whole video just gushing over that by itself. And then I really want to talk about like life-changing experiences and how they influenced me going forward. So I may end up getting some friends together and doing a reenactment of the night that changed my life because there's no video footage of it, which is really unfortunate. And I hardly even remember what the girls looked like that changed my life. So I may just have to get creative. But I would like to think that my friends are good enough at acting that I think they'd be able to not only would they be able to, but they'd be willing to put that on. Ryan, I'm sorry if it seems like I'm ignoring you. I just know that sometimes people take a while to talk, and sometimes I continue talking while I'm waiting for the typing. So, are there any videos that you particularly like watching? Also, welcome to everyone else that's here. Have you all been having a good 2021 so far? My 2021 hasn't been that eventful yet, so I'm mostly taking a more optimistic approach toward the year. I'm more or less just constantly reminding my friends, like, hey, this pandemic isn't going to last forever. Just you wait. We're going to hang out again before you know it. And some of my friends are already willing to hang out because, like, a lot of us have kind of realized, like, okay, all this COVID stuff is annoying. I mean, if we want to be really paranoid, then you could say we shouldn't hang out at all. Oh, Nintendo stuff is definitely going to be coming. Not necessarily as fast as it used to, just because Nintendo has been a bit slow on their announcements. But I don't know if you saw this earlier in the live stream, but I'm actually replaying Path of Radiance. And I've never actually reviewed that game on this channel, but I have reviewed Radiant Dawn. So this will be the prequel to Radiant Dawn, and hopefully you guys can get it for less than $200 because Path of Radiance is stupid expensive. Personally, I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler warning. I consider Path of Radiance to be my third favorite Fire Emblem. Second would be Radiant Dawn, and third is Three Houses. But, like, they're so close in quality that I would say, like, if Three Houses is here, Path of Radiance is like right here. Only because Three Houses has improved on the formula so much, and Path of Radiance couldn't exactly see into the future. I'm also doing Paper Mario 2 with my sister, so that'll be another re-review because the original review I did of Thousand Year Door was entirely just my face, and I know a lot of you don't like that, so I'm going to be working on having some footage to re-review it and also to give like my thoughts on how Origami King and Super Paper Mario have changed my perspective of it. And then I got Four Swords Adventures for Christmas. Now I have beaten that game before, but um oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah. Here in the US it's in the afternoon. But yeah, enjoy your dinner. Thanks for stopping by and hope you enjoy yourself. I thank you. Yes. You keep up whatever work you're doing too. That's always nice. Time differences. Wow, that's something that's something that baffles me to no end. Because I don't remember exactly how many years ago it was. I think it was 2011, if I'm doing the math right. I had made friends with some people in Texas that I had met on a mission trip. And I remember because they were 1 hour behind us, I was I was saying, "Hey guys, guess what? I'm in a totally different year than you are." And sadly, most of them don't talk to me anymore, but that's okay. Mission trip friends tend to drift apart over time. It's something I've sort of just gotten used to. Like a lot of people I meet on mission trips, I think they have the mindset of, hey, Paul, you're awesome for this week, but I don't intend to keep up the connection. And the older I get, the more I realize I don't really want those connections to begin with. Like, I've already got some amazing friends here in my home state, and I don't see myself ever wanting to replace them. Like a lot of people that I've spoken to who have met my friends have said that my friends are like some of the coolest people they've ever met. And they're just amazed that I can have such a supportive and wonderful friend circle. Of course, that's not to say I don't think you guys could ever take their place. I mean, I've gotten into some really good conversations with my fans, and a lot of them, well, I would say one of them actually friended me on Facebook, and I more or less convinced him to get moving on converting to Catholicism. So that was a big honor to not only get to talk to him and influence his faith, but to be able to video chat on occasion and see him, come into the truth. Hello, third person in the chat. Welcome. This is the very first video I've done in 2021, so you could say this is early access. Sadly, the early part got cut out when I filmed that at NCYC because our specific state got early access to the general event. And I was so excited that I had to film it because I was like, dang, the football stadium is pretty much empty. We're the only ones inside, and this is so cool. But yet, during the editing process, the part of my voice that said early got cut out. So if you were to watch like my NCYC favorite moments video, all you'll hear is access, which doesn't make sense at all. But yeah, you guys get an early preview of what I'm going to be doing going forward on my channel. If you want to give suggestions, comments are right there, maybe right there if this webcam's going backwards. I definitely am looking forward to, I guess, more or less having a year of consistency would be what I'm really hoping 2020 will be. Because it seems like ever since my channel started, I've had to put up with a myriad of technical difficulties and hardships with my equipment, as well as just, I don't know, I was kind of a newbie at YouTube to begin with. So I have always had to sort of take a back seat to what's actually in my head over what I put out, because what was in my head, I didn't know how to translate that into proper editing. Whereas I think ever since 2019, I've more or less, I would like to say I've more or less nailed the formula of how I want to go going forward. And I'd like to say that the quality of the videos that I made in late 2019 is like the standard, but there've always been like one or two little exceptions in each year that sort of holds me back from like going all out. Like when I did my best games of 2019 list, I liked the list. I liked what I had to say about the games. I just didn't like the fact that most of the clips that I used didn't have sound because I was taking them from my from the actual reviews that I did. Well, the footage I was. Then I made all new dialogue because I didn't want to copy the Wii viewer. And then the problem with that was that I really like listening to music because I like to rewatch my own reviews a lot of times just because I like the music, and also just to make sure that like you guys are getting the best quality possible. And because I'm my worst critic, I can say, oh, okay, that's what I did wrong there. Let me see how I can improve in the future. And so in 2020, when I made my list, I thought, oh, this is going to be just as great as the 2019 list. And then I watched the 2019 list again, and I was like, that hardly had any sound. I had sound for my 2020 list. So going into 2021, I'm hoping that like that volume standard that I got in 2020 is going to be like the standard. Because I know a lot of channels like to try to keep getting better, and I'm not going to keep doing something bad. But I also know that there's also a value in being consistent. Like the Wii viewer, for example, he's one of my favorite YouTubers, and his channel has more or less stayed pretty much the same for the past couple of years. And a part of me kind of admires that because I don't like it when things are constantly evolving for the sake of evolving. And that's also why Scott the Woz is such a joy to watch because he's more or less stuck with the same formula for, I don't know, about 3 years now. So I'm hoping that I can get to that level of consistency while at the same time trying not to be tone deaf because I know a lot of people, they don't like it when things just constantly repeat themselves. But on the other hand, there's a value in not constantly changing. So trying to find that thin line has definitely been the hard part for me. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm not normally an afternoon person. So I'm really amazed that I can even stream this at all. It seems like the possibility of knowing that there could be an amazing encounter in a live stream is in itself sort of a reward. Like, even if the only person who ends up chatting is Ryan, that's gonna have been worth it for me because I don't know, maybe he likes to see the real me. And maybe a lot of you guys will watch this late and then you'll put in the comments, "Oh no, Paul, I missed this. I'm so sorry. Please stream this again." And I feel really bad that my live streaming can't be consistent. But for one, this wears on my voice a lot. And for two, I also have to make sure that I have the energy and the time and the interest. Because if there's one thing I hate, it's when YouTube sort of takes a precedent over a person's real life. And I'm the kind of guy where, because I consider YouTube to be a hobby, not a job, I don't want YouTube to take over my personal life and my personal interests. That's not to say it hasn't creeped into certain things. Like, there are certain games that I otherwise probably wouldn't have played if it wasn't for this YouTube channel. But at the end of the day, oh wow, a third like. Thank you very much, guys. Wow, you guys are starting to embarrass me a little bit. But yeah, I want to make sure that, like, whatever is going on in my real life, a fourth like, what am I doing that's so great, guys? Like, let me know what you guys like about this, because I'm honestly like completely. I do not know how to pronounce your name, but welcome. Can I just call you Plays for now, unless you clarify yourself? But yeah, welcome. Welcome to the stream. C3 and Pi. I tried. I really, really tried. Yeah, I'll just call you Plays for now. So, have you been on my channel before, or have you just seen this right now? What was I saying? Oh yeah, so real life is not going to take precedence over a hobby. So if my friends want to hang out, Ty, Ty or TY? I assume you mean Ty. Okay, I'll call you that. So yeah, so I basically just never want to get to the point where, like, say I'm chaperoning a conference. Oh, that's good. Glad to hear it. How have you been doing, by the way? How's your New Year's going? Um, so yeah, so say I have a say I have a conference to chaperone. Hello, Soupy. Welcome to the stream. Do we happen to know each other? Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, my year's been going great. Nothing spectacular has happened yet, but nothing terrible has happened either, besides just a couple of sad moments when I go to bed, but usually I forget about them in the morning. And I have a good support system, so even if it does get to be too bad, I can talk to them. So yeah, like if I have a conference to chaperone, and say that conference is a whole week long, I'm not going to stream for an entire week. Say that there's a funeral, I'm not going to just pump out a video and say, guys, this is going to be lower quality because of the funeral. I'm going to wait until I feel like uploading. That's why I don't have a consistent schedule. Epic Tree, hello, femboy. What do you mean by that? But welcome to the stream. What's been happening for 2021 so far? Soupy, have we met before? Cause for some odd reason, that name seems a bit familiar, but I can't tell where it's coming from. Oh no, we're not having that kind of language in this chat. So If you can't behave yourself, Epic Tree, I'm gonna have to boot you out. That's your last warning. Hello, Jonathan. I just commented on one of your comments, so thank you very much for dropping by. Um, so how's your year been going so far, Jonathan? Soupy, I don't know what you're trying to say, but I would appreciate it if you would try to like actually answer your questions. Well, thank you for commenting on my work. If there's one thing that a lot of my in-person friends tell me, it's that I don't give myself enough credit for the good stuff. Oh, I see. That's okay. Not a problem. Yes. Um, yeah, so I basically these YouTube comments help me realize that how do I word this? That I'm on the right track, because it's really, oh yeah, me too. I'm definitely excited for the possibility of finally going back to NCYC again. Now, I know you might be thinking, NCYC? Oh, that's all right, Epic Tree. Just don't do it again, or I'm going to have to boot you. But yeah, NCYC, I'm afraid I can't read that, Soupy. But once you get back to normal, then I will let you back. Yeah, so NCYC is this gigantic conference of hello, Marissa. No, I am not a girl. I just happen to have a high-pitched voice. As you can see, I don't exactly have a girly Adam's apple, and that's pretty much the pretty much the defining feature, unless you can't tell the obvious. NCYC stands for National Catholic Youth Conference. I know I'm far older than a youth, but I go in a chaperoning capacity. Honestly, I'm not really sure how to chaperone NCYC because my youth group leader hasn't exactly been 100% precise, but she's trusted me to chaperone other conferences, so I basically just do whatever she says. So more or less, it's this gigantic conference with teenagers from all over the United States. And I'm there as more of like a mentor figure kind of thing. Like, there was a girl that I met in the reconciliation line that was wearing a Harry Potter t shirt. And no, Jonathan, it's actually, they're planning on doing it physically because it's scheduled for November. So by then, the virus will probably be either non-existent or the government will know how to have a handle on it. So I'm definitely planning on being there in person, maskless, everything else. If you're possessed, I'm afraid I don't know how to help you because only priests can do exorcisms. So I would recommend you get professional help if you really are possessed, Epic Tree. So basically what NCYC is it's a gigantic football field and whoa, guys, what's with all the language in this video? This is supposed to be a PG stream, and I don't like profanity. Hello, Joe, welcome. Please watch your language when you're on my stream, otherwise I'm going to hide the messages. Okay, what have I been saying? Well, I'm flattered, but I unfortunately am not allowed to have homosexual relationships. Okay, what is with all the language, guys? I'm gonna have to start booting if I see one more inappropriate thing. So you guys better watch yourself. I'm not the kind of pushover. I may sound like one, but I'm willing to get my hands dirty if I have to. So huh. Yeah, I do. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah, I'm not gonna let them. I generally I actually have a funny story to tell you, Jonathan. So the other day, I put up my list of the worst games that I reviewed on the Switch, and a lot of people didn't really like that video. A couple of people did, but most people didn't. Hello, Marissa. I'm afraid we've never met. But I hope you say when you love me as a brother in Christ. That's pretty cool because we ought to love everyone by that logic. So yeah, I made a list of the top best or top worst games on the Switch, and one person was so okay. Come on, guys, you can do better than this. So as we were saying, this one guy came on and he, was pretty angry at me for, putting jump rope challenge at number one. Because apparently I didn't understand the point of jump rope challenge. However, I definitely understood the development behind the game. I just didn't like it. I thought it was lazy. I mean, if you really have a jump rope, then just twirl your hands like this. See, I'm not even holding Joy-Cons in my hands and I'm already playing the game. So why does that need to be made? So the guy is making all of these illogical comparisons. And so I'm coming along and I'm saying, well, not only are you not making sense, but you're quoting things that I never said in my video. Like he said, oh, well, why are you comparing this to Xenoblade? I didn't mention Xenoblade in that video. So I finally just said, can we just have a dialogue, a Socratic dialogue, and just talk? Yep. Bye-bye, Soupy. I'm not tolerating that language. So it just goes to show you that some people just they don't want to have an actual civil discussion. They just want to troll. And they think that because of my appearance and my voice, they think, oh, Paul, he's nice and easy to he's nice and easy to get a handle on. And it's like, nope, I'm not gonna put up with riffraff. I have a three-strike system, you see. Jonathan, let me know if you're still listening, because some of this spam stuff is really making it hard to pay attention to what I was saying. But um, there's this. Okay, good. Very good to hear. So I I'm the type of guy where I have the three-strike rule, and this is coming from years and years and years. It's okay, Epic Tree. I don't like profanity on my channel, and I don't like people talking about inappropriate things. So if you can just keep everything G and PG rated, that would be much appreciated. And just ask civil questions like, how are you? What's your favorite game? I don't really like it when people spam or say things like, I don't know, if you just say tree roots out of nowhere, it's like, what does that have to do with anything? It might even be an inappropriate context. So I have the three-strike rule. Basically, first strike is, now guys, you do know that that's against the rules, so I need you to behave yourself, otherwise I will take action. Second strike is when I get a little bit more firm and I say, all right, I told you that that's against the rules. If you mess up one more time, I will take action, and don't think that I won't. Third strike is when I actually do it. So that's where, I finally just draw the line and I say, nope, I'm not tolerating this nonsense anymore. You can't walk all over me. Hello, Jesus lover. I am a fellow Jesus lover myself, so good to see you. Please do not spam, as a lot of people seem to love doing on this chat so far. We want actual people that are in conversation. Um, Donald Trump is a man, not a god. I hope you're exaggerating with that. Whew, where were we? So I think I'm going to redirect the conversation just because I have no idea how all of these strangers are popping onto my channel and not knowing how to properly converse. So let's talk about Nintendo. I'm really hoping that for 2021, Nintendo will really get a grip on what it is the fans want in their games. So I'm hoping that they will. Hello, Tony. Welcome to the stream. I'm a little bit tongue twisted today, but if you ask actual questions, then I will give actual answers. Epic Tree, I would love to answer that, but considering how many people have been doing weird things, I'm not sure I want to answer that on this stream. So if you could take your comment and put it on one of my videos instead of this live stream, I will answer your question then. But for now, I'm going to hide it because I don't think this is the right place. Well, yes, thank you, Jesus Lover. I'm trying my best to keep up a standard of quality. Oh, thank you, Tony. Yeah, I actually just made one a couple of nights ago. I'm talking about when ISTJs use their intuition. I haven't put it up yet. Live reactions aren't really my thing. I've tried to do it a couple of times, and I find that because I'm in front of a camera, it sort of makes my reactions slightly inauthentic because I don't really know how to like put the thing I'm reacting to and then me in the corner at the same time. So I kind of more or less think that I'm kind of a boring reactor. Like, I'm the type of guy that not much actually gets me to jump out of my chair and be excited. At the most, the Banjo Kazooie reveal was the only time where I was actually like legitimately waving my hands and screaming in excitement. But apart from that, I'm kind of more or less just like hmm, oh yeah, that's cool. And I don't think you guys would like that. If you really want me to, I can try. Not saying it'll be any good, but I can try if enough people request it. Okay, so what motivates me into my channel? So, what motivates me to do my channel is more or less just because I like seeing things written down and I like seeing things that are expressed. I like having collections. And overall, I just like to get my thoughts down out loud. That's why like my entire desktop is just like tons and tons of documents with my thoughts in it. A lot of times my thoughts don't necessarily need to go anywhere. I just like seeing them out. And so, yes, Tony, this is a different room because I've moved house. Still the same painting from Kara, though. Couldn't exactly leave that. Hello, CJ Destroya. Welcome. Not used to so many people on my streams. Thank you, Jesus Lover. I'm glad you think that I'm not boring. But yeah, what motivates me to do my channel, a secondary reason is also because I like to think that with conferences being slower and with the conference that I chaperone every year finally being shut down because of the lack of funds, this channel is sort of my second way of reaching out to people. And if even one person ends up getting closer to God through my channel, then cool. And also, I just think that, like, a lot of my friends say that I have of a very distinct way of talking and expressing myself. Like, I tried writing a couple of reviews on Facebook and Facebook Notes, and my friends kept saying, "Oh, that is such a Paul way of wording it." So I thought to myself, if I'm really that unique, I want to make a whole channel talking about things in my way because apparently I don't do stuff like everyone else. Let's see, what questions have I missed? I'm really sorry, guys. I'm not used to this many people in my chats. I usually only have like two or three. Ayig Ligba? I'm not really sure what you're talking about, Epic Tree. Jesus technically died of asphyxiation. I don't know how to pronounce that name, I'm afraid. So I would also like to say that moving into this house has actually doubly motivated me to do stuff like live streams and to do stuff like, oh, whatchamacallit, more Myers-Briggs videos. Blev, can't say I do. Overall, just because I feel like this room is more comfortable, it looks more appealing. I mean, for crying out loud. Ah, gotcha. I'll keep that in mind, Jonathan. I wish I knew how to make people moderators. Jonathan, I'm going to make you a moderator because trying to do this alone is really hard for someone who's not used to Who's not used to all of this constant feedback. Yeah, go ahead and throw petty insults. Epic Tree, I really hope you mind your manners because I do have the right to put you on timeout. I don't even know where all you guys are coming from, honestly. I'm not even that good at advertising. Oh, Jonathan, all I ask is that if people use profanity, automatically block it. Like, no matter what the context is. If people talk about something overtly sexual, block it. If they are speaking in gibberish, block it. And if they're, doing stuff like harassing, making other people in the chat uncomfortable, then if it's a minor offense, just time them out. But otherwise, like, don't allow any profanity on this channel. Epic Tree, you're on thin ice. If I see one more problem, then you're getting booted. Not just timed out, booted. So start talking like a human being. Thank you, Jonathan. Much appreciated. So, Mr. Seven Viewers is going to talk about how excited he is for the possibility of Nintendo's more surprises in store. Because a lot of people have been asking, Paul, what do you think Nintendo's going to be doing for Zelda's 35th anniversary? Honestly, I think 35 is kind of a weird number to have an anniversary for. Like, 35, why not make it a flat out even number? So then you've got, well, I would like to see, whoa, what the heck? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're definitely out of here. Can't have spam on my chat. Sorry. That's just too much. People need to see how you're talking. So, I would really like to see a game in the vein of A Link Between Worlds, but like perfected. Because A Link Between Worlds was cool, and it was amazing, and it was also on a handheld. And yet that handheld experience really helped with depth perception. So I'd like to see, like, okay, maybe if something was done in the style of Link's Awakening remake on Switch, but not Link's Awakening because I didn't really like that game that much. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I didn't have nostalgia for Link's Awakening. Like, I only got past the first dungeon on the Game Boy Color, and I just said, what the heck? This game is boring. And then I played it on Switch thinking, well, maybe I'm just a fuddy dud. Maybe I just don't like old-fashioned Zelda games. And it turned out I was completely right. Oh, we are not doing alternate accounts either. I am sorry, but nope. Not gonna happen. Sorry, but the undo. Gina, hello. Are you the same Gina that I met 9 years ago, or do you just happen to share a first name with her? Because she was pretty awesome. Tony, my favorite Zelda game is Breath of the Wild, shortly followed by Twilight Princess. I'm also really into Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I know people don't consider that an official Zelda game, but I do know that Nintendo does think about what's done in the Hyrule Warriors games, and they think about how to incorporate that into the style of a regular Zelda game. Yeah, Breath of the Wild is the one that came out in 2017. I mean, if you want to be technical, the newest Zelda game is Cadence of Hyrule / Link's Awakening remake / there's been a lot of spin-offs lately, but Breath of the Wild is the newest full-fledged Zelda game. Anime, it depends on the anime. I like Death Note, but I don't really like any other anime. But sometimes I play games that have an anime art style. Like, I love Fire Emblem. I love Zero Escape. I love James, if you're making an Among Us reference, then can't say I know who you're talking about. Jonathan, keep an eye on people who make these very strange comments that I am too out of the loop to know if they're technically doing a dirty joke or not. Um, I also like Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I don't like the anime elements of it. Like, I don't like all the closing eyes when we're happy or the J-popness, that stuff. I could care less about it. But I like the battle system. Now that I think about it, there's not much else about Tokyo Mirage Sessions that I like, but the battle system is so good that I find it worth playing. I don't know who you're talking about, Nope Tope, but I do hope that you can not keep repeating yourself and just talk like a human being. Thank you, Gina. Um, yeah, we're not going to have spam. Okay, so Gina, what kind of stuff do you like watching on my channel? Are you a newbie or do you have or is this the first time you've come around? Because I'm usually really good at remembering names, but for some odd reason your name I don't remember. Hello, Samuel. I'm doing pretty well. My work's definitely cut out for me for all the people in this chat. But I'm definitely Oh, this is the first time. Well, thank you for coming along. What kind of videos would you like to see on this channel, Gina? At the current moment, the types of videos I tend to prefer are I do video game reviews, I do Catholic reviews as well, where I talk about the Catholic elements in video games or lack thereof. And I also like to talk about Myers-Briggs and personalities. And I really I more or less like to talk about whatever I like to talk about, but my main focus is Catholicism and video games. A lot of people think I'm a Myers-Briggs channel when I'm actually not. It's just something I really like talking about. I am actually not a student at all. I am just the average dude who likes games and personalities, and I just talk about it when I feel like it. Let's see. Thank you, Nolan. I don't do YouTube anytime. I don't get paid for it. I don't. Okay, can we stop with the baby spam? This is getting really annoying. I'm glad to hear it. Michael, I will have to think about it just because there are a lot of people who are there are a lot of people in this chat who are not acting like humans and are acting more like trolls and robots. So if you can prove that you're not a robot and you're a real person, then I'll consider making you mod. Honestly, I'm not really the type of guy that normally needs mods because my channel, I don't really live stream that much. This is sort of more of the exception. I know I said I'd live stream a lot more, but that's really all going to depend on my availability. Between video games, you mean? Yeah, like there's so many people that think that video games are so evil, and yet when I played Undertale, that really helped me in my Catholic faith. And then Matt Pat gave a copy of Undertale to the Pope. And then when I found out that promotional art for A Link to the Past was based on Link kneeling in front of a crucifix, that really just opened my eyes to like how video games could be a bridge between God and gaming. And I even had a religious brother come on my channel at one point, and he said, like, yeah, Paul, you're in a unique position to bridge the gap. And so I think that as long as you don't allow gaming to completely overtake your faith, that's good. So it's definitely, well, thank you, Jesus Lover. I actually got this painting from my friend Kara as a birthday present. And the cool thing about that is that that was when I was already in a relationship with my ex. And Kara still painted it for me anyway, because she's like, I value you as a friend. And so I've kept it up sort of like as a way of saying you can very much have platonic female friends and that it doesn't have to compromise your romantic relationship. Of course, you all know what happened to that girl. I won't repeat it because of all the trolls here today, but She was messed up in the head, and a lot of my friends have said I definitely deserve better than her. I'm not really exactly sure what she's trying to say here, but I like to think that if I put the painting upside down, it would look like the sky in my book. Yeah, I have actually more female friends than male friends, Jesus lover. It kind of more or less turned out that way. Like I didn't really intend that to happen, but I don't know. I guess I have a way of talking that well, let me give you the short version, Gina, and I'll give you the long version after I find out if there are trolls or not. Because if there are trolls, I really don't want to say the full story. But let's just say that my ex-girlfriend, she said she was Catholic but wasn't practicing, and then she also cheated on me. So yeah, bye bye. I tried to forgive her, and I tried to give her a lot of chances, but she ended up taking advantage of my kindness, and I just realized this is toxic. I got to get out of here. So my brother Matthew, while I was still in the recovery phase, I'm fine now. I'm at the point where I can say just about anything about her. My brother Matthew came along and he had just gotten engaged. And he said, "Paul, if you really want to find the right woman, then you need to find a woman who not just likes you, not just thinks you're cute, but who cherishes you, who considers you to be irreplaceable, and a priceless treasure." Now, I know that sounds like the kind of thing that girls would expect from guys, but you'd be surprised how many parallels there are. And so that's been the mindset I've been having for a long time is if someone really, really cherishes me, then they're going to respect everything that are my needs. And I made it pretty clear when I started dating Autumn. I said, I have female friends and I'm going to hang out with them. Uh, yeah, I prefer to be deliberately out of the loop. I'm not really much of a. Oh, are you heading out, Gina? Or is that just your way of consoling me for my ex? So basically, yeah, we made it pretty clear in the beginning. Like I said, no sex till marriage. I'm gonna hang out with my female friends and you're not gonna stop me. And you're also gonna respect me. Well, thank you, Gina. Much appreciated. And she didn't respect those wishes. The worst thing about it was that even after, I would hang out with my female friends around her, and even when she was right there in the room, she'd be like, "Why are you hugging that girl? What the heck do you think you're doing?" And I'd be like, "I'm just hugging her. She's my friend. I even know her." Um, yeah. Sorry, Michael, but that just kind of pushed down your credibility of possibly being a moderator if you're going to use that kind of language on my channel. You better just be joking, because when people use profanity on my channel, I don't consider it a joke. I consider it a violation of my rules. You tell him, Jonathan. So, as I was saying, so despite all of that, despite her making me come along and feel like I have to be super guilty apologizing for being around a bunch of teenage girls at a conference behind my back, she's like legitimately having an affair with another man. And I'm just like, I was untrustworthy and considerate of you? Well, what the heck is this contradictory language, girl? And that's why I broke up with her. I'd like to think she broke up with me, but honestly, I pretty much had it coming. Um, I don't think it's appropriate to call people sinners in this kind of context because People can misinterpret that statement. I am from the United States, Gina, but I'm not going to tell you where. I've been told that I have a non-accent, so that might give you a little bit of a hint. But I can also mimic accents really well. I don't feel like doing it right now just because streaming takes a lot of vocal energy. So a lot of times you have to exercise your throat muscles a lot because you're doing a voice that isn't naturally yours. So considering that this water is like my energy limit for this chat, I I don't want to have the water go faster. But if you watch some of my videos, I have read an entire chapter of Harry Potter using the voices of the main trio. So I can do British fairly well. Alabama. I don't think I've ever been there before for a mission trip. And if I have, it was so long ago on a boring family vacation that I can't think of anything. I have been to North Carolina, Illinois. I think I've been to Illinois twice, actually. Actually, if I go chronologically by year, I can name every single mission trip I've ever been on. So Rockford, Illinois was the first one. Prince Frederick. Oh yes, you have a great day too, Gina. Hope you stick around. So first one was Rockford, Illinois. Second one was Prince Frederick, Maryland. Third one was Greensboro, North Carolina. What else do I do outside of YouTube? Well, you know that I'm a gamer. I mean, the name kind of says it all. I also really like to swim. I mean, you know that from watching my video of overcoming aquaphobia. I haven't been able to do much of it because of the pandemic, but I'm definitely waiting around. I also really like to write. Admittedly, I haven't written as much in recent years, but I do have several walkthroughs and novelizations for the Zero Escape series because I love that series so much. I'm a musician. Admittedly, I don't play very much anymore just because my ears are so sensitive nowadays, but people have asked me to play guitar at praise and worship nights. And I have given performances. I've written my own songs. Some of the songs are actually on this channel. If you know where to look, there's some of my earliest videos. So the audio quality might be a bit bad, but I still think the song quality itself holds up. Then I've also been told that I'm so good at voice acting that I should get a job as a voice actor. I always say no whenever my friends say that because, oh, yeah, that's cool. Learning how to play the guitar takes a lot of perseverance, especially because when you first start playing, it's really painful to push down on the strings, but eventually your hands develop calluses. So then you end up getting to the point where the calluses basically become a non-issue. So but then if you don't play in a long stretch of time, then the calluses sort of more or less disappear, and then you have to like regain them. So if you're going to learn how to play guitar regularly, you kind of have to keep at it every now and then because otherwise they'll just hurt again when you go back to it later. I personally don't find it too much of an adjustment, but I do have to admit that it is very much like my fingers are being poked. Yeah, I've actually got a guitar right behind the computer. August, that's nice. I've been playing guitar for about, if I'm doing the math right, about 11 years now, give or take. And I can't say I've gotten much better since then, but I've also been told that if you know G and C and D, you can basically play any guitar song if you know how to transpose it right. And the song that's the most popular on this channel, The Great Embrace, that only has 3 chords the whole time. And I actually, believe it or not, I actually didn't write that song with music in mind. I actually wrote it as a poem and I put it on Facebook. And my professional musician friend loved it so much that she said, Paul, how come this isn't a real song? And I said, because I'm not a songwriter. I don't know how to write music. She said, oh, are you? Well, she didn't say it exactly like that, but I asked her if she'd be willing to do a cover for it. She forgot to do the cover. So I finally just said, well, a lot of people love this, so I'm going to try making it into music. And then I played it for about 2 hours in my living room trying to get different chords. And that was back when I lived in the old house. And then I memorized the chords, and I didn't even end up writing down the chords until my brother wanted to do a duet, and I said, "Well, I guess I'm gonna have to write down the chords so that you can know what you're doing." 17 years of playing guitar, that's cool. Oh, I get you, Samuel. I'm constantly making old man references because when you've chaperoned as many conferences as I have, you begin to realize, shoot, I'm old. These guys aren't getting any younger. It's also a subtle reference to something, but I'm not going to say it just in case the person that I'm thinking about is watching this stream. But yeah, normally a lot of people say that I look for my age. Yeah, nice try. I am I can tell exactly what you're doing. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so a lot of people say I look young for my age, but then I'm definitely old enough where I think I'm done growing in just about every capacity. Sideways, I don't know. I mean, I've maybe gained like 5 pounds since I was 18, so that should tell you something about my metabolism there. So outside of YouTube, there was one more. I also really like going on walks, but in this new neighborhood, I really don't really have any idea where things are at the moment. So I'm sort of waiting for it to become warmer. I don't really like to say my true age on this channel, Jonathan, but I'll give you a hint. I'm old enough where I was able to pre-order the GameCube version of Twilight Princess, and I was able to play it on launch day. And I'm also over 18, but I guess you'd have to be over 18 to play Twilight Princess at launch. So there you have it. I was old enough to play Twilight Princess in 2006. Well, because there are weirdos out there that if they know their actual age, it can be easier to track a person down. So I'm usually very careful not to reveal too many personal details. I generally prefer to save that for when I trust people. And for me, trust is an acquired thing. I used to have a lot of trust issues back when I was in depression, and even after I've gotten out of depression, I've kind of more or less continued to have trust issues, not because I have trouble trusting, but more along the lines of just because I think it's the practical thing to do. I think a lot of the things that I did in depression as a result of sadness, I kept up because I realized there was practical value in keeping it up. Like when I was in depression, I watched a lot of sad stuff because I was hoping to feel something. And then I started liking the sad stuff that I watched. So I've gotten to the point where I like seeing sad stuff. Oh yeah, I love Twilight Princess. It was my favorite Zelda game up until Breath of the Wild came out because I love exploration and Twilight Princess, it still has exploration. It just has a big wall around everything, and that annoyed me. Bounce back from depression, I actually made a whole video on that. So you can watch that if my on the spot rambling is too incoherent for you. But the short version is that I was in 2015, that was when I actually discovered that I had depression. And it was so bad that my boss actually ordered me to take the rest of the day off of work and go to the hospital to get treated for potential suicide. And I got out of the hospital within 6 hours because well, the nurses said I wasn't suicidal because I was cracking jokes and saying, "Hey, how are y'all doing?" And just overall, I didn't really have a suicidal demeanor, so to say. But that's not to say that I wasn't at the end of my rope. I was so depressed that I said, okay, so there's this conference coming up, and I really want to chaperone the conference because I've chaperoned it every year since 2011. And if I don't go to that conference, then that's going to be terrible. So I'm just pinning all my hopes on that conference. And if that conference doesn't work, then I'm out of this world. So I went to the conference, and while I was saying my penance from reconciliation, a voice in my head, which obviously had to be God because there was no one else in the room, said, "Go talk to a group of two or more people." At first, I resisted because I'm not really a group person. I prefer more of a one on one kind of thing. And then God kept insisting. So later that conference, I found about 5 or 6 girls, give or take, sitting in a corner, and I made sure proper protocol was observed. I did the workshop, I got certified, I made sure I wasn't breaking any rules. And with all that in mind, I sat down with them and I said, "Hey guys, God wants me to tell you something, but I don't really know what He wants me to tell you." So then I just said, "Well, if I had to take a guess, I think He wants me to tell you my story of depression." So I told them what was going on. And I said, "But I still wanted to come to this conference because I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. And I wanted to see if maybe me being at this conference would help people." And they said, "Well, you did make a difference, Paul." And then they all gave me a hug and they all gave me their autograph in my notebook because I like to collect autographs from people that I meet. Because a lot of people that I meet, I never see again because, at national things, how do you see people all the time? So writing their name in my notebook allows me to remember them by name and know where I met them so that, I don't know, if years down the line I lose my memory, I can be like, "Oh, Mary, I met that girl in 2011. I'll remember that." So essentially, you could say it's sort of an anti dementia kind of precaution. Well, suffice to say, those girls got me thinking. And as I kept going through the conference, apparently word spread of what I said to them. And then other girls came along and they said similar things. I don't remember 100% exactly what they said, but they more or less were just like, "Wow, Paul, you've really helped this conference to be wonderful for me." And at the time, my friends back at home they were saying the same things, but I didn't believe them. I thought they were trying to coerce me. I thought they were just saying it to make me feel better, and they were actually lying. And, I'd been lied to in the past. So I was like, "What makes you guys any different? How am I supposed to tell the difference?" But when these girls said it, I said, "Okay, logically speaking, there's absolutely no way they could have contacted my friends. That would have been inappropriate and violating so many child protection laws if they did. So it must be true." And then shortly after that, I bounced out of depression and I've been clean ever since March of 2016. That's more or less the story in a nutshell. So, basically, my advice on how to get out of depression is have a good circle of friends, really, and also have the mental state to fight back. Because a lot of people, when they're in depression, they kind of think, "Hello, Sai." I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. We Americans mispronounce everything. But welcome to the stream. What kind of things do you like doing? And what kind of videos do you like seeing? What was I saying? Oh yeah. So basically, yes. I had a feeling it was you, but I just wanted to double check. Yes. I took a break from that Discord because I was getting tired of showing up in the live chat and no one was talking. So I was just like, "Okay, I'm spending like hours just waiting for someone to pick up." And I didn't like the uncertainty. Because when I joined the Discord, I thought, "Oh, you guys are a bunch of bored extroverts, so you'll always be in the mood for a chat." Turned out I was wrong. So I said, "I'm out of here." I'm still on it. I'm just waiting for people to like message me or something and say, "Paul, come chat with us." And they haven't. So whatever. So how have you been, Sale? I haven't talked to you in so long. I almost forgot what we talked about. But I know we were talking about how you wanted to start a YouTube channel. It seems like you have, based on the fact that you have a name, and I was giving you tips on how to improve it. Yeah, Jonathan, so how Sale and I met is we were on a Discord server together, and the Discord was actually built for extroverts that were dying to socialize with people during the pandemic. And at first, I was, of course, super reluctant because if you've seen my Myers-Briggs videos, you'll know that new stuff equals nope in my brain because I'm very wary about trying new things. But eventually, people talked me into how maybe it won't hurt that much, and maybe you could meet some new friends. And I eventually said, I guess it won't hurt." And at first, it was really fun because my very first day joining the voice chat, there were like 5 people in there, and I liked those people. But then after that, apparently that was like a special occurrence. And then it was basically just me and one other guy, and the conversation ended up getting forced. And then Sale here was awesome. He kept chatting me, and then that kind of died out. So that's more or less why I stopped coming to the Discord. And also because I'm also only like one of the few sensing types on there. So there's a lot of things that they talk about that I'm just like, say what? Why are we talking about the universe and existential crises and who are you and stuff like that? That's not the kind of stuff I really like talking about. Oh, that's the video you made, Sale? Well, that's super cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I liked you too. But yeah, I actually am not surprised at all that you would. Yeah, no, I know that's what they thought. Yeah, no, that doesn't offend me in the slightest. I, I'm pretty sure that group was designed with ENTPs and ENFPs in mind. And with me being inferior extroverted intuition, I can see how I would like extremely annoy them. Also, like, INTJs and INFJs have fifth function extroverted intuition, so they at least could somewhat understand it. Whereas me, I have introverted intuition as my eighth function. So when INTJs and INFJs start talking, I'm like, say what? I am totally confused at what you're saying. It seems like it seems like the people on that Discord have sort of a love-hate relationship with everyone, because Science Tigress was booted too. Honestly, I finally understand why she was booted. I'm not gonna say it here because I think that's a private matter, but yeah, yeah, she was kind of driving me crazy as well. But no, I don't hold anything against anyone. I just really wish people would actually message me. Oh, wow. Are you for real, Isabel? You showed up. Cool. Yeah, glad you could show up. Do you have at least a little bit of time to stick around? Guys, Isabel's channel is like incredibly cool. She's actually one of the few INFJs that's not like super mysterious and Rumpelstiltskin-y. So you can talk to her if you ever want someone who actually speaks mostly straightforward. It's really amazing. But yeah, oh man, this chat has been a wild ride. We've had to put up with a lot of trolls and a lot of people that thought they could push me around. And so Jonathan Rodriguez, he's my new moderator to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Oh yeah, not a problem, Sale. Take your time. I got my water, you got to get your tea. Mm. But yeah, Estebel, if you're still here, I can never make promises when I'll live stream, but I'm definitely planning on making it a lot more regularly lately. It just all depends on availability and timing and who's in the house and trying to make sure that people aren't super angry and all that. So when I say super angry, that's a hyperbole. Most of the people in my house are relatively soft spoken most of the time. Whew, man. So my water is almost halfway done. So that means I've still got a little bit of energy left. But I'll keep going for a little bit. We'll see how many. Glad to hear it. You said one of the best, so I'd be curious who the best is. I mean, you've only known me for a little bit, so I imagine you still have to warm up to a lot of my gruffness a little bit. Yeah, a lot of intuitive types that I know of, they tend to have a very love-hate relationship with sensors. Either they think we're amazing or they think we're the devil. Because a lot of them say that we're really boring and we don't like looking into the deeper things in life. And it's like, are you kidding me? Have you seen me playing Zero Escape? We just know how to balance it a lot. Whereas I think dominant intuitives kind of just like do it all the time without even being subconsciously aware of it. And they also, for some odd reason, even if they're feeling types, lack the awareness that other types are being annoyed. Feeble-minded, you might have to define that a little bit, Sale, because that could mean multiple things. But yeah, I think the problem that both intuitives and sensing types make is they have a broad. Yeah, I really like ISTJs, but to say they're my favorite sensing type would be a lie. Because I would prefer being around an ESTP or an ESFP if I had to choose a favorite sensor. Because their judging functions are in the middle, and their dominant function, extroverted sensing, has a very hands-on approach that I do not have at all. and, and I definitely really appreciate them being able to figure things out because I certainly can't. I usually need a manual or someone telling me what to do, or I'm going to be like, zoop, totally over my head. I don't know what I'm doing here. Ah, I see. That's a good question because I think a lot of that depends on personal circumstances. But if I had to take a guess, now mind you, this is on the spot. I haven't had time to think about it. I'd probably say the ESF, ES, ISFP because ISFPs they have dominant introverted feeling. So obviously for them emotions are everything. Self-identity is the core of their personality. Then their second function is extroverted sensing, which means they're going to think in the moment, but not as much as the ESFPs and ESTPs. So they're not really going to be thinking about the future or the past, but rather what's right in front of them. So they also have extroverted thinking as, yeah, not a problem, Jonathan, not a problem. They also have inferior extroverted thinking, which leads to them not being able to make like executive, corporative, that kind of decision making. So because their dominant judging function is weak, it leads to them not being able to make decisions, and it leads to them being one of the laziest types. ESFP. Very nice, Jonathan. I'll make you a moderator right away. Closest sensing friend is an ESFP. Yeah, I tend to find EP types in general are the types that you want to avoid like the plague when it comes to planning stuff. Like a lot of my ENFP friends are super duper forgetful and like they'll forget something that they just told me a minute ago. So I tend to be the one that has to call them at least 4 or 5 times saying, yo, don't forget, we had a deal. Most cowardly type. That's another good question. Um, yeah, I get it. But I also know that Isabel might be psychoanalyzing me to see if I'm being 100% accurate in making an informed assessment. I might have to argue the ISFJ because I think ISFJs are notorious for being the type that's told they don't have a backbone. Whereas the ESFJ, they have dominant extroverted feeling. So they have that forceful demeanor to them that even if they don't want to hurt people's feelings and get things done, they'll do it because of their need for being judging. But ISFJs have dominant introverted sensing. So they're always going to want to think about the past and they're always going to be reminiscing about what could happen and what did happen. And then their secondary extroverted feeling is going to make them not take action because, well, this person is bothering me, but I shouldn't say anything because that might hurt their feelings. So I could see that as being cowardly. We ISTJs are also big babies deep down inside. We just don't want to admit it because if we did, then we'd have to reveal our deepest, darkest secrets. And then people would be like, you believe that ponies are real, Paul? Oh my gosh, no. How could you ruin my perception? And it just leads to all sorts of, yes, I'm well aware of it. um, yeah, we ISTJs have some pretty strange beliefs. And if we told people what we believed, yeah, we'd be laughing stocks and thrown out onto the streets. Um, I wouldn't say I'm an expert on psychology, more so that I'm an expert on analyzing details. And so Myers-Briggs oftentimes has like, you've got the 8 functions, and when each of them are in certain positions in the stack, it has a very specific way that it manifests. So when I do write about Myers-Briggs, I like to write about the common grounds in the function. So I like to think, okay, ISFJs and ISTJs both have dominant introverted sensing. What do they have in common? As opposed to thinking like, hmm, what do all intuitive types have in common? Which is actually a fallible mindset to have in Myers-Briggs because only half of the intuitive types think a certain way. Because like half of them use extroverted intuition and the other half use introverted intuition. And those are polar opposites. Like introverted intuition is more about like analyzing and looking deeper at something. Like, what does life mean? What is the meaning of my existence? How could I further this concept? Whereas extroverted intuition is more of they get bored easily. And if they were to do that, they'd say, okay, on to something else. I'm bored. So they're always jumping from one thing to another and trying to think of new and exciting possibilities. Whereas I think introverted intuitives, they'd be more like, that might be a little bit too exciting. That might be a little bit overboard in my energy levels. So, yeah. I'm glad to hear that, Sal. Yeah, we definitely have a grasp on reality. But I think also because INTJs and INFJs have a tendency to forget about the real world because they have an inferior extroverted sensing. For that matter, I would say ENFPs and ENTPs are even worse because they have 8th function extroverted sensing. So a lot of inferior intuitives have a habit of like bumping into poles and like as Isabel put one time, like forgetting to tie their shoes because they're so busy thinking ahead that they forget about what's in the moment. I would say if you're going to illustrate a caricature of the inferior intuitives, just have someone who uses reading glasses, or no, the opposite of reading glasses. Someone who's farsighted, who can like see across the room, but then you put a book in front of them and they're like, I can't see this at all. Well, ISTJs are somewhat guilty of that too because we have dominant introverted sensing that leads to us constantly analyzing what happened in the past. So that's not the present world, that's the past reality. So if we see something in the present, we're going to think about how similar it is to something we've seen before. So take this phone, for example. Instead of just saying, oh, this is a cool phone, like the extroverted sensors would do, which includes you, Isabel, even if it's your inferior, I'm going to be thinking, this is so inferior to my previous phone, but there are some ways in which it's an upgrade. So it's a constant comparison of what already happened. Whereas I think an intuitive type would think about similarities as well, but they would think more along the lines of something like, now that I have this phone, what new possibilities could I do with the advanced technology? Or this phone might remind them of something else, and they might think, what if people use this phone to hack into society? And so we're secretly being watched. And so, oh, I'm sorry, Samuel. I, yeah, Sale and Isabel, they really like talking about Myers-Briggs. Yeah, Myers-Briggs shouldn't be taken as a give all end all. It's more or less a preference. So, if I can give a dummy crash course explanation, sensing means you favor seeing what is and what's factual as opposed to thinking ahead and futuristic. Intuition means you prefer to see big picture and overanalyzing every hidden meaning. But that's not to say that if you're a sensor, you can't be intuitive. And if you're intuitive, you can't be a sensor. It's just what do you prefer? Because, like, if I wasn't intuitive at all, I wouldn't be able to think about the ramifications of making a decision. I would just say, okay, um, well, I'm hungry, so let's get a pizza. The little tiny bit of intuition that I have is going to say, if I do get the pizza, then I have to think about, say, calorie intake and if my digestive system can handle it. So there's the intuition looking at the hidden meanings. Of course, most of the time, my intuition is going to be outvoted by the sensing. So take what you will about it. But yeah, basically, Samuel, Myers-Briggs is more or less a way to tell what people usually do on a day-to-day basis as opposed to what they will always do. Because every single person in the universe has an individual personality, and Myers-Briggs doesn't take that into account. It also doesn't take into account personal experiences. Say you get two people with the same personality type, but one of them had an abusive father and the other one didn't. That would lead to two very different people, and some of their preferences would be warped because of that personal experience. So, the one with the abusive father, this person may have extreme trust issues, whereas the one without wouldn't have that. Despite the fact that their preference lists are the same, their personalities and personal experiences are completely different. Like, take Isabel, for example. She's not very confusing like most INFJs are. That's because she's had personal experiences that have allowed her to have allowed her to realize the benefits and clarity. Or take me. You've got my stream froze. Oh, okay, that's good. You found it. Down to earth intuitive type. Okay, this is a good question. And Samuel, I hope you'll forgive me if I'm speaking nonsense. I would like to say the most down to earth intuitive type is probably, sadly, those are sensing types, Sale. I mean, those types are definitely down to earth, but they are sensing types. Um, I would like to say the ENTJ, because ENTJs have tertiary extroverted sensing, so it does lead to. Please don't use my Lord's name in vain, Sale. We don't want that on my channel. So ENTJs, first of all, they have tertiary extroverted sensing. So it means they have somewhat of a grasp of reality, and they also have the opinion to say it like it is because their dominant extroverted thinking is above their intuition. So they are going to be thinking about what's good for society. So that leads to them having a bit of a realistic outlook on things. They have their clumsy moments, but not nearly as much as the inferior intuitives. ENFJs, I would say, are also pretty down to earth when they're not thinking of a far reaching plan. As far as the most far out intuitive type, not even a question, INTP. Those are the types that INTPs just bore the heck out of me when they talk. Like, because they have inferior extroverted feeling, they tend to not like pleasing the crowd. And so if I'm just like, oh, I hate this conversation, they'll just keep prattling on. And I literally have to like say, guys, I'm out of here. I'm leaving the room. I don't want to talk about it. Then they'll say, oh, yes, right. We'll talk about something else. So they have this like total aloofness of like what makes people uncomfortable. And it just gets super annoying because all they want to talk about is possibilities. And even if something's right in front of their face, they don't want to acknowledge it. They're like, well, this could be a figment of my imagination. And I'm like, well, obviously you have imagination, so what the heck? And they're like, but my imagination could be imagination. And how can we determine if anything is reality? And ugh, I just don't like talking to INTPs at all. Very nice to hear, John. Yeah, I would agree because INTPs have seventh function extroverted sensing. So, of all the types that are outside of reality, they're going to be the ones because they don't understand reality itself. A lot of times INTPs and INFPs too are the types that'll like be pouring their cereal and then accidentally pour it on their lap because they're so busy thinking about a new concept. Or they'll be putting their cereal in their mouth and say, "Oh, that's a new perspective," and spill it down their necks. So that's the answer to my question, Isabel. Did was that a satisfactory answer? John, what's your ENFP friend like? Yup, you got it, Sale. You got it. Oh yeah. My best friend's dad is an Well, that's because you also have introverted thinking as your tertiary function, Isabel. So it probably leads to you having a somewhat of an understanding of this. Um, what was I saying before? Very nice. Yeah, I mean, INFPs have a secret smartness, I would say. Like they like my INFP friends, oftentimes she acts like she's totally brainless, but when you actually ask her to get down and serious, she has a lot of interesting things to say. And a lot of times I'm like, "Oh, that's actually pretty solid reasoning. I'm surprised you thought of that." But it's mostly just because they ignore their reasoning. Yes, INFPs are ISTJs in disguise because they have the same functions, just in a different order. Now, ENFJs, I have a love-hate relationship with them. As long as they don't boss me around, they're usually incredible. But when they are bossing me around, they're some of the worst people I've ever met. Also, when they get angry, they tend to be the ones that are like the kings and queens of door slamming and dark humor and uncomfortable innuendos that they disguise as being nice, but they're actually being passive aggressive. And it's just something I don't want to get on their bad side. Some INFJs are guilty of that too, but because their dominant function is a perceiving one, they're going to first gather the information, then make an assessment. Whereas ENFJs, they tend to like be hurt first and say, "Oh, wait a minute, no one hit me. Oh, okay, I guess I didn't need to be upset." And there's a time and a place for that. Like, ENFJs would be super cool if, like, say, someone's crying at a funeral and really needs someone to help them. And all the INTJs and INTPs are like, "Duh, what's going on? Why are their tear ducts overflowing?" And the ENFJ will just like snap their fingers and just run to the rescue. And that's what I admire about them. That's true. Yeah, I actually just talked about that. Hippie-esque type? Oh man. That's uh That's a good question because I haven't actually studied, like, super in depth what a hippie even is. So I think this would be better asked to someone who's more, I guess, who's really studied the 60s and the 70s. But if I had to take a guess, I would probably say the INTP again, because obviously their extroverted intuition would be trying to think about something new. Their introverted thinking. Your birthday? Oh, wow. Well, congratulations, Isabel. I'll make sure to send you something super amazing over. Yes, you as well. Yes, congratulations. Yeah, I'll have to congratulate you. The video game that reflects the teachings of the Catholic. Well, let me first answer Sale's question, then I'll answer that one. So, first of all, INTPs, they'd have dominant introverted thinking. So that means they want to come to their own conclusions. They don't want to do just what the government says or what the rules say. The rules are beneath them, remember. Then extroverted intuition is going to say, "What's new? How can I take this thought of mine?" And then the introverted sensing is going to look at maybe the facts could go in their favor a little bit to support this claim. And then the extroverted feeling is going to, of course, as much as it hates pleasing others, there's going to be a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of them that's going to say, "This could revolutionize the whole world." And so as a result, extroverted feeling is in play. So yes, I think they'd be the most likely to be hippies. The Catholic game that reflects the teachings of the Catholic faith the best? Oh, trust me, Isabel. After as many conferences as I've chaperoned, yeah, you're not old at all. So, g- oh man, sticking around after you said goodbye. Oh, I would have said other things had I known you were sticking around. But yeah, enjoy yourself. Tell me all about it later. So, getting back to your question, John. I think the video game that teaches the Catholic faith the most, from what I've personally studied, and I'm basically only a Nintendo guy, so if there's something on Xbox and PlayStation I'm missing, oh well. I think it would have to be Undertale. Undertale is by far the most Catholic game I've ever played. Not 100% Catholic. There are moments in that game that are definitely contrary to our faith, like the lesbian shipping scene, that's a big no-no. And like Metaton's origin story is another, like, don't do that in the Catholic Church. But valuing mercy over killing and talking about how doing stuff for the sake of seeing what the point is. I know Toby's actual intention was that he wanted to make fun of people who are completionists. And so, yep, bye bye, Isabel. Thanks for joining. So, yeah, Toby's making fun of completionists in Undertale. And that's the main point of the game. He's also making fun of video games in general and all the tropes that they do without thinking of why the tropes are there. But if you look at it from a Catholic perspective, there are a lot of people that say, like, okay, just one look at the porn magazine just to see what it's like. Because they can't just be told, that's wrong, don't look at it. They're like, but I'm curious. I want to see what happens. And so Toby's basically saying curiosity killed the cat. As far as the game that I think is contrary to the Catholic faith, there's a lot. Most of them I just don't even play. Off the top of my head, I would say basically any game that glorifies gore without a story purpose. That I was very careful to say without a story purpose because I play 999. There's a lot of stuff like beheading and blowing up, but there's a story context behind all of that that adds to the narrative. Whereas games like The Last of Us Part 2, that's my answer. The Last of Us Part 2 is like the antithesis to the Catholic faith. I haven't played that game, so I may be getting some of the facts wrong. I haven't even played The Last of Us Part 1, but from what I've heard, oh my gosh, that game is a total slap in the face to anyone Catholic. Because, first of all, the entire point of the narrative, from what I've heard, not played, Ellie is out on a quest to get revenge for her father figure being brutally murdered. And then, like, halfway through the quest, you take control of Ellie's rival, who is also on a revenge quest just because she claims that Joel is bad. And basically, these two girls are on these really stupid quests trying to kill people who killed with even more brutality than the people who killed Joel. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. What the heck is going on here? Why are you going that far to be the person that you hate? Also, not only that, but like Ellie's in a homosexual relationship, which, okay, setting that aside, pretending that the Catholic Church allows LGBT stuff, the girl has to go out with a guy to get pregnant because two girls can't make two girls pregnant. So, don't you think that's kind of messing with Ellie's emotions a little bit? Like, don't you think it would be better if Dana just came clean and said, yeah, Ellie, this is what makes babies. So I don't know why I'm with you instead of this guy. So there's a lot of moral ambiguity there, and it kind of feels like there's a lack of loyalty and precision. And also, not to mention that the characters keep like swearing and saying, like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. These people are idiots. And it's like, then just abandon your stupid revenge quest. You don't have to be crawling through the sewers. You don't have to be plucking out people's eyeballs. You can just stop, go home, call it a day. But they don't. That's why I say Last of Us Part 2 is the most anti Catholic game I've ever seen. The most anti Catholic game I've ever played. I'd still have to think about that in depth. But off the top of my head, I'd probably have to say Gone Home. Now, again, the main premise of the story is that the main character's sister is a lesbian. And because this was in the 90s, before gay marriage was allowed, it's considered a tremendous scandal. And her family is overly religious. And they say, oh, well, anything LGBT is a sin. So I haven't played The Last of Us Part 1, and I hardly know anything about it. So I honestly have no idea. Getting back to Gone Home. So the whatchamacallit. So the girl, of course, she's super upset because the parents are like, you're not actually lesbian. You just haven't found the right guy yet. I mean, you have your friend Daniel. You like games, he likes games. Why not just get in a relationship with him?" She's like, "No, mom, I'm attracted to girls. Can't you leave me alone?" And so maybe if the story ended like that, that would be one thing. But then the girl is like underage. I think she's like maybe 16. And she says, "Well, my parents are so oppressive that we're just going to run away and be in a relationship together." And that's how the story ends. It's like, are you going to glorify this girl being off on her own? Probably doesn't know how to do budgeting skills, probably doesn't know a thing about living on her own. She probably was just being an impulsive crybaby teenager that didn't bother getting therapy to talk out, is this the right decision? Should I analyze if I'm actually making a smart move or not? Instead, she's just like, "Sayonara, folks. You can't handle the fact that I'm attracted to someone that can't make a baby with me. Boo hoo. I'm out of here." Like, okay, let's play devil's advocate for a minute. Let's say that the situation was flipped and she was in a heterosexual relationship. That would still be a stupid ending because, again, she ran off without telling her parents. She's underage, she's a minor, she's probably having a sexual relationship at that. And there's no planning that goes into it whatsoever. She's again being an impulsive, whiny crybaby. So taking out the LGBT elements, because I know I'm going to get a ton of hate comments for it. Honestly, I don't really care. You guys should know that. But basically, she's disrespecting her parents. She's not using common sense and reason, which is what God gave us to differentiate us from the animals. And it's overall just not a very pleasant message. It's making it out like the parents are terrible because they're religious, as opposed to maybe they're taking their religion too far, and instead of having a dialogue with their daughter, they just condemn her. Oh, it's homosexuality. That's therefore evil. I've got LGBT friends and they're amazing, but you got to know where to draw the line when it comes to practicality and morality and making reasonable decisions, and a lot of them don't. A lot of them are very hostile and threatening if you even slightly say, "I'm uncomfortable with this," as opposed to saying, "Okay, well, let's hear about it. Why are you uncomfortable? Is there a reason why you think it's gross that a guy likes a guy?" And then we can have a dialogue. Sure, that sounds cool. But the minute you say, "It just makes me feel uneasy," they're like, "You're bigoted, you're prejudiced, you're a terrible person." And I'm just like, back off. I didn't say anything of the sort. I just said I'm not used to it. Kind of like if you get someone who say they have this drink of water right here, right? But let's say that instead of drinking it like this, they drink it out of their nose and they drink it like that. People will say, "What the heck? That's so gross. Why do you drink out of your nose?" They'll say, "Well, why are you being so bigoted against people that drink through their nose? Allow me to do what I want." It's like, don't you think people have the right to ask themselves, like, this is not normal. Why do you do that? And a lot of times, these people who do things that are not normal are doing it because their brain is in a spot where they can't think logically and reasonably. And so rather than getting help, they think, "Oh, we just need to embrace the weirdness." Well, if you did that, then we're allowing psychopaths to run free. Now, to answer your question about Smash Brothers, um, as a whole, I just find it a hobby. Like, not every video game I play has to be 100% connected to the church. But I would say in the case of Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, World of Light, I actually made a whole video on it. If you want to check it out, it's called World of Light Catholic Review. But to summarize, basically, I consider Galeem and Darkon to be commentaries of both the religious zealots and the false prophets. And since all of the characters, both good and evil, from throughout the video game verse, are working together to stop this, and you could theoretically have, say, Link, Ganondorf, and um, who's the other villain? Sephiroth, working together to defeat them. It goes along with the lyrics of the song that say, every soul contains a whisper of light. And it goes to show you that even the worst of people have redeeming qualities. And if we unite against a common evil, then that can build bridges. So even if these people are, I don't know, a different orientation than us, a different religion than us, a different anything. We can still work together to defeat a common evil. And that can be how we can slowly work together to, I guess, be a harmonious society. Does that all make sense, guys? What do you mean by stigmatized by society, Sale? Do you mean like, ooh, that hurts. Which, all right, guys, I think I just did an oopsie here. I might have to find one of my gloves. Okay, well, I don't want to do a BRB, so I'll just wrap my hand up. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of surgery, not surgery. I'll talk about it later, but suffice to say, it's very easy for my left hand to get hurt. So I need to constantly put medicine on it. I'd rather just finish the stream and then put something on it. Oh, I see. Good question, Sale. I would say, I'd probably say the dominant feeling types because their lack of thinking leads to them doing whatever it is they like to do. So rather than analyzing the situation and saying, oh, could this perhaps be the wrong thing to do you think maybe that's not the smartest move? They'd be the types, I'm not saying all of them would. Obviously, there are several smart feeling types that do think about things. And a lot of times, if they're religious, that really helps. But the average feeling type doesn't put much stock in their thinking at all. And so they're the types that are most likely going to just give in to their passions. If they're like, hey, I'm attracted to an animal, they're not going to say, whoa, 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 that's crossing a line there. That might give me STDs. They're going to say, I'm attracted to the animal. I'm just going to go run to the animal. It's like, oh my gosh, you people, how stupid can you get? So that's my guess. I could be wrong. I don't generally like to pay much attention to what society says because society doesn't know how to define their rule book. I find that society, like if you ask them, okay, why is it that men don't shave their legs? And society is just like, well, because if they did that, then they'd be, no, no, no. Answer the question. Is there a reason? Is there a rule book? Why do men not shave their legs? Why do women shave their legs? What is the reason? They can't give a reason. They say, oh, well, if they don't, then we'll be unhappy or the women will be made fun of. It's like, no, 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 no. Why are the women being made fun of? And so it shows that society is not an extroverted thinking society. They're introverted thinkers because we'll figure it out as we go along. And then the few extroverted thinkers that do fall into that brainwashing stigmatism, they're gonna just say it's what everyone else does. So they have too little extroverted thinking. I am not surprised in the slightest, Sale. Because INTPs, they have. Oh, thanks for the like. I could have sworn I would have gotten a dislike on this stream because I dared to criticize Gone Home. Ooh. Well, you know what? LGBT people need to learn how to have a dialogue with someone that disagrees with them rather than just saying, you're prejudiced, you're evil, just because someone has an opinion. Because INTPs have inferior introverted feelings, so they don't really have access to their emotional state at all. And because they're intuitives, they're going to be constantly thinking about possibilities instead of just accepting what they have. But they can't accept what they have because they have seventh function extroverted sensing. I love my Catholic faith because it gives me answers. Like going back to that example I gave earlier, why do women shave their legs? Well, there is no answer to that because society has just gotten used to it so much that they don't know how to quote a rule book anymore. However, the Catholic faith has its roots in wanting to do what's best for the neighbor, Jesus, not only does he love us, but he also became one of us. He wanted a personal relationship with us. And overall, everything he did was out of love. So it promotes a greater sense of love. Admittedly, people don't always know how to word it in that way, but ultimately that's what it is. Just people need to learn how to express the Catholic faith more openly. So I love the Catholic faith because not only is it rooted in love, but it's also rooted in rules. God has the Ten Commandments, but in addition to that, he also has the Catechism. And the Catechism tells us what's right and wrong. So I can say, is it wrong to grow out my hair? Let's look. And there's my answer. As opposed to some Protestant denominations where they're just like, I think this is right based on my understanding of scripture. And we Catholics do that to an extent, but it's nice to know that we have more concrete, definitive answers. And that's why I like being Catholic. Yeah, I I can see ISTJs being unhappy because they get stuck in the past a lot. And if something terrible happened to us before, then we would dwell on it. I would actually say, Sale, that ISTJs are the most prone to having depression of all the types. And you would think, no, no, wait a minute. ISTJs can't have depression. Thank you, Samuel. And thank you, John. Because ISTJs, they're thinking types. So obviously they wouldn't succumb to their emotional states like that. Yeah, well, the thing about ISTJs is that one, tertiary introverted feeling. So technically, the feeling is still kind of sort of there. Second, dominant introverted sensing, which leads to both ISTJs and INFPs having that loop of first and third, which is called avoidant personality disorder. So those two types, more than any others, will be constantly fearful of being rejected again. And that's what leads them into depression because their feeling is introverted feeling. Therefore, their emotions are going to be in here more than out there. And so it leads them to what's being called the bottle effect, where they say, I can't share my emotions. I don't want people to know that I'm feeling this. And because they're bottling up so much, it eventually explodes. And that's why they're unhappy. Are you asking generally, John? Because I gave my testimony. But as far as general advice, tough question. But I'd have to say my knee-jerk reaction would be, first of all, you have to have willpower. Like if you're having depression, and why, thank you guys. If you're having depression and your brain is saying, I don't want to do anything, I don't see the point in life, just say, that's just a thought, that's just an emotion, it's not real, it's just an illusion. And then just like hit your head and say, no, I'm actually happy. I am having a good life. Because depression tells you lies and it makes it so that you believe that the lies are true. So don't believe in lies. I mean, our faith forbids us believing in lies after all. So you'd be obeying God by disobeying a lie. If you're having problems at home, I'd say try to have a dialogue with your family. And if you can't have a dialogue with your family, then I would say that generally speaking, either getting help or showing respect to your parents despite how they might be hurting you. Because it says in, I think it was the book of Sirach, don't quote me on that. We Catholics aren't good at quoting the exact Bible verse. But the book of Sirach more or less says, like, if you are patient with your father, even if he's technically in the wrong, that can actually cover a multitude of sins. So I guess you could say putting up with your parents might very well help you out in the afterlife. No, I think that's a good idea, Sale. I think it's good that you're not pinning her down to one type and you're taking the time to analyze the possibilities. I think that's pretty cool because yes, yes, please do. That sounds really fascinating. So, Sale, you actually have half a point with your videos because INFJs have the same top and bottom function as INTJs. So their dominant way of thinking and their inferior way of thinking are going to be more or less identical. Now, as far as the middle functions, that's the same as the ISFJ. So ISFJs also have almost identical ways of using their extroverted feeling and introverted thinking. So it makes sense that you would say traits as an INFJ and INTJs will say, I'm like that too, because they also have dominant introverted intuition. Yeah, that's a tough question. I think for starters, you should figure out whether you have introverted or extroverted intuition, Sale. Because if you can figure that out, then you can eliminate like half of the options. Because INFPs, INTPs, I think that's it actually. Yeah, INFPs and INTPs both use extroverted intuition, but INTJ, oh, that's an inappropriate sign in some cultures. But INTJs and INFJs have introverted intuition. Not only that, but the INTPs and INFPs don't lead with intuition. They lead with either introverted thinking or introverted feeling. So the question becomes, are you a dominant intuitive? And if so, are you a dominant introverted intuitive? Because if you were a dominant extroverted intuitive, that would make you an ENTP or an ENFP, which means they're constantly looking for new and exciting possibilities, and they can't really sit still very easily because they stay put on one thing and they say, ugh, this is stifling my creativity. So if you have introverted intuition, you're going to want to look deeper, further, explore the possibilities, try to grasp the ultimate big picture meaning. So if that's what you are, Sale, I think it's fairly certain you're an INXJ. However, if you're really like convicted by your thoughts or your feelings, and if people like attack that belief of yours, you get like ridiculously defensive and call them out saying, oh, well, just because you don't think flowers are living beings, you must be a stupid idiot. That's the general vibe I get from INFPs and INTPs when you question their way of thinking. My favorite video game character would have to be probably Kyoko Kirigiri in Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. Not only does she relate to me the most, but I really like how she starts out as like the super aloof, quiet person that really only speaks when she has to. And then like halfway through, I don't want to spoil too much, guys, but let's just say that she eventually learns that trusting people can be okay. Now, whether that trust is maintained, I'll let you guys figure out. But basically, she doesn't think she should trust anyone in that situation, and she learns, yeah, maybe one or two people are okay. And it kind of reminds me of myself a lot. My second favorite video game character, I'd probably have to say, is Phoenix Wright. I really love. I really love how he bluffs his way through a lot of things, and it ends up being right. And he just overall has a very like this air of confidence when he presents his arguments that to tell you the truth, whenever I am like Phoenix Wright in real life and I'm like pointing out other people's contradictions, I can feel the thrill of the pointer finger. So yeah, he's my second favorite. Yeah, that's true. But I have seen INTPs get really offended before. Like there was one time where an INTP was talking about philosophy. And I said, oh, philosophy, that's so boring. And they were just like, oh my gosh, you simpleton. How dare you accuse philosophy of being terrible? And I'm just like, chill out. I just said I didn't like it. Doesn't mean you can't like it. And so they went on for like hours and hours and hours talking about how such a stupid idiot I was, even making a public post on the page saying, here are 7 reasons why Paul is an idiot. And I'm just like, temper, temper, temper. And you're supposed to be an inferior feeler. I got into video games because when I was at school, my teachers, I guess, wanted us to learn communication skills. And so I played Putt Putt Joins the Parade, and that's how I learned some of my vocabulary. And then we had what was called, um, I guess, free class time, where like during our lunch breaks, we could visit the other classrooms to see what kind of stuff that they had. Because back when I was in school, I was really, really little. So obviously, we had a lot of, like playscapes and video games and stuff. So one of the other classes that wasn't mine had an NES, and they had Super Mario Brothers. So I started playing that, and that's what helped me get muscle memory. And then that's pretty much really how it started. Was just they happened to have it at school. I happened to try it. I happened to like it. Then I kind of fell out of video games for several years because my parents didn't like the fact that I was imitating a lot of the stuff that I saw. Then I eventually convinced her that I was out of that phase. And then she said, okay, we'll get you a Nintendo 64, which was a very odd thing to say because at the time it was, well, the GameCube was still in style. And I was like, no, I want an N64. And I got an N64 and I loved it. And it took me forever to get a GameCube. And then it took me forever to get a Wii. And basically, I was just always out of the loop with video games. But as a result, I think that actually was a good thing for me because it ensures that I'm usually well aware of the history of the franchises that I review. So that, say, if I review Three Houses, a lot of people that play Three Houses, they tend to have a very, like, oh, this was my first Fire Emblem, or this is following the great pattern set by Awakening and Fates. And I'm like, yeah, no, I've been playing Fire Emblem games since they came out in the States. So I can tell you how the series has evolved and what Three Houses removed that made Radiant Dawn so great. Of course, I still do think Three Houses is my favorite Fire Emblem, but I can also see how it's evolved, whereas other people see it as like, oh, that's a great starting point for the franchise. Whereas I say it's a great evolution of the franchise. So, yeah, the fact that I'm always late to everything means that it also means that internet culture doesn't spoil my enjoyment of a particular popular game. Like Undertale is the prime example of where being late to the party worked in my favor. Because Undertale came out in 2015. Yet I had heard people praising it and not wanting to talk about it, but overall, it just I was like, "Oh, okay, it's Undertale. That's cool. Just yet another great indie game, whatever." And then my friend Nick came along and he said, "Paul, you really need to get Undertale because it's a phenomenal game." Thank you for the fifth like, guys. I really appreciate it. Um, so the reason why I didn't get into Undertale is because it didn't come to the Switch until 2018, and then it was a really cheap price. And I went in the eShop and I'm like, okay, what's the big deal about Undertale? And they said it's a friendly RPG where no one has to die. I said, no one has to die? I'm playing it, and that's what got me hooked. And as a result, I was able to play it a sixth like. You guys are too kind to me today. Thank you. Um, so I basically went into Undertale almost completely blind. Basically, the only thing I knew about it was there's a skeleton named Sans and you fight him. That's it. And I ended up loving it as a result. And then when I found out the fandom was super toxic about people who played it the wrong way, I was like, boy, am I glad I wasn't part of that drama. I sometimes play Smash Ultimate with other people, but I usually don't play with my fans just because Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has peer-to-peer connection, and that can lead to matches being an extreme lag fest. So I usually prefer to play it with like streamers who have a really good connection. Like I played with Lightning Farron. So if you want to check my Twitter, you can see a link to the battle where I actually beat her the very first time I ever faced her. I also have played with the Yellow Kazoo a couple of times. That's a little bit harder to figure out where I faced her. And I also like to play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in person with my friends. Hi, Zoe. Good to see you again. Thank you so much for commenting on my video, by the way. It meant a lot to me, especially because I was really worried about how certain people would take it. I have not played Stardew Valley yet. It sounds like it's the kind of game I wouldn't like, just because I like games that have objectives and stories, and that's why Animal Crossing tired me out, because after I, explore the island enough, I'm just like, that's it. There's no story, there's no structure. I have to just do whatever I want. Boring. Give me something to look forward to. So if Stardew Valley has, a good story and good characters, that might be fine. But if it's like only a farming simulator, that seems like it would be too boring for me. Yeah, Zoe, I doubly appreciate the fact that you commented on my video because I know you said commenting was really hard for you. So I'm really glad that just like I faced my fear, you faced your fear of commenting. So now we're both facing our fears. All right, guys, I have this much water left. So just saying, like, that's when I'm going to start winding down because my throat can only take so much. Oh, that's cool. I may end up giving it a try then, Zoe, especially if it's nice and cheap. Maybe not in the near future, just because I have like 5 different games at the moment that I'm playing, probably more. I'm just bad at math. And also because I'm kind of in a tight spot financially, so it might be a while before I buy a brand new game, but if there's a way of renting it, I will consider it, especially because you said it had an objective. Also, does it have like full open exploration where you can like go wherever you want and not be constricted by a linear path? Because that would also be pretty fun. Excuse me. Agreed, John. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe was like $60 when it came out, and the ironic thing about that is that they hardly changed anything, and yet there's actually a disc on the Wii U, mind you, that cost $20 for both New Super Mario Bros. U and New Super Luigi U. And it also had more bonus levels because the Switch can't do gamepad support, so it had the gamepad levels. And it also had, it just didn't have Toadette as a playable character. So why not just get it on the Wii U? $15. That seems pretty cool because I really liked A Short Hike. I don't know if you've seen my review of it, Zoe, but that was a game where you control a bird named Claire who's trying to climb to the top of a mountain. And the way you do that is by gathering golden feathers. But there's no set order that you need to get the feathers in. You kind of just play it however you want. Basically, at the start of the game, you're told, get to the top of the mountain and get feathers to do it. And from there, you're completely free. There's also no game overs, there's no health bars, there's no enemies. Really, the only thing that's stopping you from beating the game is if you don't have the right equipment to climb the mountain. So that's, in a sense, artificial difficulty. And that's why I like it a lot. So, it doesn't have the farming that Stardew Valley has, but I would say that it has the freedom that you're probably looking for. I would say the reason, John, is because Nintendo has legendary IPs, and a lot of their IPs are exclusive to their system. So whereas like Call of Duty is on every platform to begin with, Mario games you only find on a Switch. So Nintendo's like, we're the only ones that have our intellectual property. And these are like the best of the best intellectual properties on the planet. So they figure this is the only place you can get Mario